Hi, if you're watching this video, then we are on week 2, Feelings and Coping. And hopefully you read or saw me read the book, The Boy Who Didn't Want to Be Sad. This book, which connects to about our feelings, which we're talking about during Feelings and Coping. And this book talks about how you can have multiple feelings about something. So you could be happy when you're thinking about your special person and or people, animal or animals, but also be sad because they died and you're not here with us anymore. And it's okay to have more than one emotion at the same time about anything. You could be happy about something going on in your life and still be sad because you're dealing with the death of that special person, people, animal or animals. There's another book that I read called Double Dipped Feelings. So if you didn't watch that, you can feel free to. You don't have to. Just like I said with The Boy Who Didn't Want to Be Sad, that the idea with the double dip feelings is it talks a bit more about that aspect, or that idea that you can have a lot of feelings at the same time, and that it's okay to have more than one. And the reason is because emotions are very important to us, and they also have an effect or impact us. So what emotions are is what happens when we process things that happen to us, when things that happen in our lives, in our communities, and things in our world. So emotions can be to a lot of different things all at the same time. So while you may be having certain emotions or feelings about the person, people, animal or animals that died, you may also have other emotions about things going on. Maybe there's something happening at home. Maybe there's things happening in your community. Maybe there's things in the world that are going on that you're having certain emotions about. There's a lot of things going on all the time. And right now, a lot of people with COVID, the impact COVID has had on us with not having our typical school, with the summer we had last year. So no, this summer is probably a lot different for most of us, being able to do a lot more than we used to, but not for everybody. Some people, it's still very much like last year. They're not doing very much. COVID-19 has still had a huge impact to them this summer as well. So I want you to think about, what are some emotions that you have? Are there any that you've experienced, any that you are not sure of? How do they feel? What do emotions feel like in my body? There's a book I'm going to mention called Listening to Your Body by Gabby Garcia, and that talks about how different emotions in our body actually feel. So we can learn to understand and recognize there's physical things we feel in our body when we have certain emotions or feelings. And I want you to think about is, do you think your emotions ever are ways that you try to say something to somebody, that you're trying to communicate? If so, I want you to think about how. And if you don't think your emotions communicate anything, I want you to think, why not? Take your time to think about this, and then to feel free to share this with anyone that you have in your life that you trust. You can pause the video, take as much time as you need. I also want you to think about with COVID, how did that make you feel? Going through everything you did during this pandemic, which is the word we use to call COVID-19. What did you feel as you were going through that, with all the changes happening, not being able to do usual things? Did you feel multiple things? Maybe you were happy you didn't have to go to school, that you liked being at home and doing school from online. Maybe you were very sad, missed your friends, missed going to school, that you felt you did better, you learned more when you were in school. There's no right or wrong way to feel what you feel, because whatever we feel is what we feel for ourselves, and that is okay. But I want you to think about those things, and if you're able to, write them down. You can use the journal, or paper we provided you. So with this, I have a couple of activities that I provided, and I want you to use them as you think they might be helpful. I think they're helpful, but again, everybody's different. So if these are helpful to you, great. If not, there's some other activities that we put into the folder. When you go in here, you'll see towards the back other activities that you can do that maybe one of those might be helpful for you. This is the biggest part, I think, for any of our weeks, is talking about our feelings and ways to help us cope, because that's very important for us to think about. So hopefully that was helpful for you to think about and realize that it's okay to feel more than one thing at one time, because emotions tend not to be one thing happening at one time. You may just feel happy sometimes, and that's fine, but a lot of times we maybe feel happy in something else, because things are always going on in our lives and things are always happening. So it's okay to feel more than one thing. Also, sometimes we may end up feeling more than one thing, but also we may be feeling something, but we're not sure what it is, and that's okay too. So if you go into your folder, there is the sheet that has butterflies on it. The butterflies here, this is an activity we can do to talk about some of our problems and worries we might have. So when someone close to you dies, it may make you feel even more worried and scared than you usually do. So this is to help think about what are some of those worries or things that make us feel nervous. We use the butterflies because sometimes people feel like there's butterflies in their stomach when they're nervous. But you don't actually have them in your stomach, of course. So the idea is to write on the big butterflies, the things that are really big, the things that are really worrying you. And then on the little ones, things that are smaller. And if you only have one or you don't have any of these, as I say, feel free to skip this activity if you don't think this is helpful, because you don't really have any worries. That's okay. Some people do, and this can be helpful to think about, okay, what am I worrying about? So for the first part, the big worries on the big butterflies, the small worries on the small. Take your time, pause the video as you need to, and come back. So after you've done that, thinking about what is it you're worried about, writing it on the big ones and then the smaller ones on the little ones. So for example, some kids' big worry is somebody else going to die? Who's going to take care of me? What's going to happen? Those are just a couple, and that's okay. Maybe it's something not related to the death that you're worried about. Maybe you're worried about things at school, maybe things with friends. That's okay too. Sometimes some small things people worry about is something like, in the one book I shared called The Scar, which you don't have to have read if you don't want to, it's okay. But in this book, the young boy talks about how, is dad gonna know how to make my sandwich the way I like, the way mom made it? Because mom died and now dad's gonna have to do all these things that mom used to do. But is dad gonna do it the way mom used to do? So that might be something you're worried about. Is there things that your person used to do that you're not sure if somebody's gonna do them or somebody gonna do them the way you're used to? So think about all those things and write them down. And the first question is to think about, again, if you just want to do the activity on your own, that's okay. I like to provide every different way I can with being able to do these activities. So the first question says, when you are feeling scared or worried, what could you do to help yourself feel better? So just thinking about that. Take your time, pause the video as you need to. So for some people, when they're feeling scared or worried, they might have certain things that they do that help. Maybe doing some deep breathing, doing some yoga, going outside and playing, talking about it, doing something, moving, dancing. all different kinds of things. But thinking about what works for you, what helps you when you're feeling scared or worried. Take as much time as you need to. You can pause this and come back. Then I want you to think about the next question is, who are some people who can help you with your problems and worries? What can they do to help? So thinking back to week 1, we talked about those people who are in our lives that we can go to with the lifesavers, as well as the big map that had all the different types of people. So that can help you think about, who in this list can I go to when I'm having problems and worries? And what might they be able to do to help me? Again, take your time, pause this, come back to it if you need to. Then lastly, if your special person who died was here, what advice would they give you about your problems and worries? So sometimes the people who died in our lives might have been the one we go to ask those types of questions. So thinking of somebody else, who could I go to? Thinking back to our lifesavers in the map of all the people, who can I go to talk about this with? And again, take your time. And once you're done, then you're done with this. Like I said, if you want to color it, you can. Some people like to do that. And hopefully this was helpful for you to think about, some worries and problems that might be happening, things that you're nervous about, and a chance to write it out, talk about it, and find some ways to help you with that. There's also a couple of other activities I added in. There's the Feel Good Messages that's in your folder. And these were some ideas of things to help you in thinking about ways to help yourself feel good. So I also provided in the book Feel Good Messages, which again, you don't have to listen. I'm just going to read out loud what it says. So when dealing with someone's death, it may often be sad and difficult, but there are some things you can do to help it yourself and to help it be a little bit easier. So reading through this Feel Good Messages is one way you can help yourself feel better. Read through these and feel free to cut them out if you want to post them onto paper, or you can copy this down in your journal if you want to, or write it on something else. You can make a poster out of this if you want to, but the idea is, if it might be helpful to have these things in front of you to help remind you of some feel-good messages. There are things I can do to help myself feel better. I made it through tough times before, and I can make it through tough times now. Nothing I said or did caused my special person's death. I feel good about my proud moments. I am strong and healthy. My special person has died, but my memories of them will last forever. I am loved. I can be happy for all that I have. Even though my special person died, I can still be happy and enjoy life. So hopefully that's helpful, and little things that you can look to help remind you of some feel-good messages for yourself when you're having a hard time. I also provided what's called Life's Ups and Downs. And again, you can do like the feel-good messages, do it on paper. We gave you the drawing pad if you want to use that, or blank paper. But the idea is to do this, you make a timeline. So you take a paper and just draw a line across. That's a timeline. So with that, you go ahead and decide the top half are the things that you're going to write that are more happy memories. So things above the line are happy memories, and below the line are your sad memories. So you think of that as you go through, and these are the different parts you can use to help you think about some memories. So an earliest memory from when you were young, happy or sad memories with your family, happy or sad memories with school, memories of times you felt excited, scared, mad, guilty, loved, memories of birth, deaths, holidays, vacations, and anything else. Memories of when you or someone in your family got hurt or very sick. Memories of your achievements and proud moments. The worst day of your life and best day of your life. And these are just some ideas of things to think of that can help you think about, okay, what are some of these things in my life? And thinking, okay, the happy ones and the sad ones. And the idea with this is to remind you that just like the feel-good message over here is that I made it through tough times before and I can make it through tough times now. So that's what this activity helps remind you by thinking back to those happy and sad memories of all these different things that have happened in your life. And again, like I said, feel free to do this or not. It's perfectly okay to do them or not do them. They're just some ideas of things that might be helpful in thinking about what we talked about, which is coping. So after doing these, if you did them, I want you to think back to yesterday when we did the activity, how I think, feel, and behave. And I want you to think about, how you might help yourself cope with some of those. Some of those might have been things that you were struggling with, and to think of some ideas of what might help you work on those, what might help you work through that, might help you feel a little bit better. Feel free to share this again or write it down, but thinking again about what are some ways that can help me